Well, good afternoon and welcome to this Monday, April 5th edition of the Bermuda Referees Corner here on IronStats.com. I'm your host, Earl Basin, and joining me is the head of referees from the Bermuda Football Association, Mr. Cranston Williams, as well as a FIFA assistant referee, Tashawn Simons. First of all, gentlemen, thank you very much for the time. And obviously, we want to talk about Tashawn and doing international duty, how it all breaks down, how we get to this point, and how do we get more people to enjoy some of the success in which Tashawn's had in recent weeks. We know that he officiated 2 World Cup qualifiers in Carousel. Tashawn, first of all, obviously, congratulations. Not your first international, but is this your first World Cup qualifiers?
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, it is my first World Cup qualifier. Different experience, especially on the COVID restrictions.
Yeah, because that's one of the things we want to talk about, the restrictions that we've heard a lot of the things that took place for the men's team, but as an official, things are probably even just a little more stringent because there's a team of you 4, and if 2 of you come positive, it's almost puts it in a risk of games not happening. But take us through what you had to go through leaving Bermuda, and then upon arrival in Curacao, meeting up with the other officials, and what was all the talk around in preparation for the game.
So, obviously you have to have a departure test. So had the departure test and that was fine. Get in Miami and, I had to overnight. So can't go nowhere, got to go straight to the hotel. So I got to the hotel at like 6:30 or something like that. So it wasn't too long. Then you get to Curacao and you meet up with different people, and I was the only one literally that spoke English. Everybody else spoke Spanish or Dutch. Luckily the guys from Aruba spoke English a little bit, so I was able to communicate with them. But then you just start talking about the game and how the different teams play. The guys from Aruba, they had been to Curacao, they'd seen the team before, so they was telling me about some of the players that play for Curacao and how a lot of them are not from Curacao. They're not born in Curacao, but obviously they have like grandparents or parents that are born in Curacao, whatever the case may be. And a lot of them play in the Netherlands. So obviously they play from at a higher caliber than what we would be normal to, or would be normal for us. So, then you go, obviously we didn't get to go to the field, didn't get to train or anything like that. So it was literally just talk about the game. The match coordinator meeting, the assessor brought all the information to us. We had a meeting about that, and then that was it. It was just after that was just game day. We couldn't go outside the hotel, like stuck in your room for 24 hours every day. It's crazy because you can't do anything. You can't talk to the people. You can't like get the feeling about the whole COVID thing and the games, anything like that. You couldn't talk to anybody outside our referee bubble.
Mr. Williams, obviously you get the notice that Tashawn's been assigned matches and all. How does that transition work? Do they contact you, or do they contact Tashawn directly to say that he's been assigned to officiate such and such a game?
Well, they send him a confirmation. They also send it to me as well. I've been in touch with Brian Hall and Javier, but they did send it to both of us. So then I let him know. that he would have to travel and to make his preparations in regard to his job and what he needed to do. So then I let him know that he would have to travel and to make his preparations in regard to his job and what he needed to do. So then I let him know that he would have to travel and to make his preparations in regard to his job and what he needed to do. So then I let him know that he would have to travel and to make his preparations in regard to his job and what he needed to do. So then I let him know that he would have to travel and to make his preparations in regard to his job and what he needed to do. So then I let him know that he would have to travel and to make his preparations in regard to his job and what he needed to do. So then I let him know that he would have to travel and to make his preparations in regard to his job and what he needed to do. So then I let him know that he would have to travel and to make his preparations in regard to his job and what he needed to do. So then I let him know that he would have to travel and to make his preparations in regard to his job and what he needed to do. So then I let him know that he would have to travel and to make his The BFA did then send a letter to his job on his behalf to requesting that he be granted the leave to represent the country to officiate.
Mm. And generally, how often or how much time in advance do they give you notice that you'll be officiating, or he will be officiating, because he has to notify his job, because he has to make all these arrangements and so forth. And now you've got this other dilemma of COVID.
Normally, it's within a month. Previously, yeah, it's been I would say I found out early March. No, before that, found out in February, sorry, that he was good. And as soon as I found out, I called him and asked him, had he seen it yet? He hadn't gotten it, but he got it a couple of days later. So they do give you ample time. And in particular with COVID, then, it's not a direct flight from her to Curacao. So clearly he had to overnight. And even his return leg was an issue because he had to spend an extra day in Curacao because of how the flights are. But it worked out fine.
Mm. And to Sean, basically, how does your training, because you knew about a month in advance, or you were told about a month in advance, how does your training regimen change without telling anyone? Because obviously, I don't know if you can tell people that you got this assignment, or you can't tell people you got this assignment. I just happened to be online and saw that you were officiating, so I was all excited. So how does your training regimen change knowing you have this next international duty, and you know the game is going to be a lot faster than what you're used to doing?
Well, I think this one was a little different, obviously, because we had the domestic football for what 2 3 months now. So the whole mindset had to change. You know what I mean? Going to training a lot more often. When I'm not working, try to go for a run, do something at home, something like that. But your mindset has to refocus pretty much to the higher stage. You get what I'm saying? Obviously you have when we have domestic football, I'm already in the referee mindset. Every weekend is a game, so I'm already there. But to go from no football to then going to international football, it's like you gotta just refocus everything. Reading the laws to make sure that I'm caught up, to make sure that I know what I'm gonna do, things like that. So it's a little bit of not retraining yourself, but kind of retraining yourself to be like, yeah, I'm gotta be ready for when I get down there to do the game.
Mm. Now, you did mention that you didn't get a chance to go anywhere or see anything, but how about usually the day before the game, both teams have an opportunity to go to the field and so forth. Did you officials have that same opportunity? And if you do, what are some of the things you guys are discussing about the field and about what you need to be doing to prepare yourself for the next day's competition?
So we didn't get a chance to go to the field the day before. Um, yeah, I think the teams did have a chance to go. I'm not too sure because we didn't have no interaction with them until we got to the field. But normally when we go to the field, we're going over the field markings and the surroundings of the field, things like that. Um, is it safe for the players, things like that? You know what I mean? Sometimes when we go to the field the day before, we do a little training on the field just to get a feel of the field and also to get acclimatized. And I think that was probably the biggest thing for us going down there, or for myself, going down there and doing the game, is I wasn't acclimatized the first game. Um, it was a lot hotter than here, or humid, because obviously it's still kind of winterish here. Obviously it's springtime now, but it was still kind of winterish. Um, it was just hot down there. You know what I mean? You could drink as much water as you want, but if you're not climatized, you're not your body's not used to running around or being stressed in that environment. You don't know what it feels like until game day. But normally, we go to the game, go to the field, we do a little training session, and we got climatized that way for about an hour or so. But it was a different experience, especially going to the field. On game day, and you still got to perform. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, I'm not climatized."
Mm. And obviously, one of the things that we all know at international level, the game is a lot faster, a lot quick. The ball changed direction a lot faster, and just the tempo itself. but after that first one, because you said it was quite humid and all, what did you do to recover?
Well, I didn't really do much. I just really was in the hotel room stretching and stuff like that. But before the first game, I got a massage. That kind of helped out to kind of just ease the muscles from the training and stuff that I was doing beforehand. But it was just just calm down. Okay, the first one's out the way. Let's get the second one done. And try to get the second one to be better than the first one. Obviously, that's my first game in 2-3 months, so it was just getting used to being back in the groove of things, really.
Mm. And Mr. Williams, for what you're able to assist with, how excited is the association that now Tashawn has gotten 2 World Cup matches under his belt, and obviously now we look forward to the next thing.
Well, I mean, when I saw the email that he was appointed, I kind of knew it was coming because of the fact that we have to send reports every month to CONCACAF regarding what we're doing, and response has always been very, well received by CONCACAF. Because in spite of COVID, like the association, the referees committee has done quite a lot. Because even sometimes when I send the reports, I'm like, wow, we did all that in a month, and the referees still train. So I did alert the instructors. I got an email, that Tashawn had the potential to go. So they did tailor training specifically for certain things for him, and the tempo did increase to make sure that he was fit. We all know Tashawn doesn't like to run, so one of the things that made sure is that he did a lot of running in his training sessions with. I want to say thank you to Mr. Anthony Francis and Garrett and his available. And also Lyndon and Martin. They made sure they had Zoom calls about the laws and the video session. So there was a lot of preparation going into it. So we were excited that he got to go. And I was actually lucky enough to find it on my Fire Stick, his first game. So I watched the whole game live. That was very rewarding for me to know that, I could say, hey, instead of just telling people there's a potential that you could possibly go to actually see Tashawn. And then the second one, and we saw him on Flow Sports. I'm sure that was proud to know you had you didn't see the Bermuda team on Flow, but there was Tashawn on Flow. So it was a proud moment.
Yeah. And Tashawn, for you, when we started looking at you evaluating the whole thing, what grade would you first give yourself, and what are some of the things you think you need to address to make it a little more easier next time starting out of the gate?
I don't think is really any issues there. Is just the fact that we haven't had no football. That's literally it. Um, Obviously, no. My next goal is to get to probably a bigger competition. There may be something in the pipeline. You never know. I don't know, but it's now to get to the next competition, not just do qualifiers. You know what I mean? Get to a Gold Cup, get to possibly a World Cup or the World Cup final stage or anything like that. It doesn't. Nothing really changes. It's just keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully, you get chosen. That's really how it is. Um, and when you go to tournaments or you go to any games that you're appointed to, is to perform, and that your grade within itself will show the high ups in CONCACAF, like, yeah, this person's ready to go to the next stage. But in terms of my grade for the first game, I'll probably give myself maybe an 8. You know what I mean? I know what score I got, but I'll probably give myself an 8 because I didn't feel climatized. You know what I mean? It wasn't. I didn't feel comfortable, and I'm sure anybody who was watching or could have watched realized that okay, Tashawn didn't really look comfortable in this game, like, you know what I mean. But towards the second game, I felt a lot more comfortable. So I think probably the first game I'll give myself an 8.
Yeah. What about that second game?
I say second game probably like an 8.5 or so.
Okay. All right. When you in the conversation, obviously leading into the game, obviously it's a language barrier, but how did you guys figure out how you was going to communicate? Did the referee speak just a little English?
Well, the guys from Aruba spoke English, So both of them spoke English, and the fourth official was from Honduras. He he kind of understood English, so but luckily one of the guys from Aruba spoke a little bit of Spanish, so he was able to translate to him, and also the assessor spoke a little bit of Spanish as well, so
Mm.
it wasn't that hard to get through to him. But other times when nobody speaks Spanish or we have no way of no translator, is Google Translate. You just type in what you gotta type in, what you gotta say to the person in Google Translate, and let Google Translate do its thing.
Mm. And obviously officiating is global. Every signal is global, no matter where you are. It's spoken one language. Um, um, Mr. Williams, what has been the chat amongst the group following Tashawn's performances, and the fact that you have some of these people who want to knock on that door to get into that group for next year?
Everybody was very supportive of Tashawn. They put a lot of congratulatory messages in the chat, and they said, Joe, well done. The youngsters that we have in the academy, for me, this was, I'm hoping, something that, is like a carrot you dangle in front of them. There are 3, 4 people potentially that hopefully will go to under 15s. And as Tashawn said, not having any football, that's been our challenge, and it's been the committee's challenge to try and say, how do we keep, everyone motivated? So for me, it was a blessing in disguise that Tashawn, got this appointment, because you could say and sit there and like, that's the guy, I see as a police officer, or, you know, he does games in Bermuda. So it can happen. So we were happy for that. We're still training on Sundays, following the COVID restrictions of 10 people and less, because we're hoping that they just continue to train and be ready for they get to go in August.
Mm. Mm. Tashawn, when you look at um, international games, I'm not even going to talk about the English Premier and all that. I'm talking about international games. When you're watching them um, and evaluating how the officials communicate, did that kind of click right away in your the first time you officiated an international match? Not this time around, but the first time you officiated an international match.
I think most of the signals are pretty universal. Obviously, if you work with somebody week in, week out, you have a different way of speaking to each other, without speaking to each other. But I think most of these signals are pretty universal. Can't really let everybody know our secrets, but it's we have ways and means of talking to each other without talking. You know what I mean?
Mm, mm. And have you heard from the overseas instructors since you've been back,
Uh,
Rohan and Victor and those guys?
no, not yet. Hopefully we might have something coming up soon, so hopefully I might be able to see them guys, but never know.
Mm, mm. So Mr. Williams, where do we go from here? Where does I guess if you can, where do we go from here?
Um, well, I do know there's another tournament coming up in April that Mr. Simons will be going. Where and when, I can't tell you that part, but he will be going. That's already been earmarked. So now it's a matter of keeping Mr. Simons what I call at optimal peak condition. He has to do his quarantines, and once he's finished, he doesn't know it yet. I'm letting him know now. The instructors have a regime for him to get him where he needs to be. I've challenged Tashawn from the time he got on the list to move to tier 2 and then to tier 1. Because once you go to tier 2, you're considered an elite assistant referee, which, as he said about going to more challenging tournaments, that he has to get to that level. So right now, it's just, as I said, the bottom of the totem pole. We all know Tashawn has the talent. It's up to him to take it where it needs to go. And I've thrown down the gauntlet now, said, hey, it's up to you. CONCACAF is waiting. The world's waiting. It's his oyster what he chooses to do with it. And for me, the more he continues to soar, then hopefully that will give somebody else here on island motivation to say, you know what, I want to be like Tashawn.
Mm. Tashawn, obviously the lockdown is it's got to be something that it's got to be a bit frustrating for you as active as you are, police officer, day job, refereeing, officiating, and so forth. But how are you handling this part of not being able to move about. And by the way, happy belated birthday. How are you handling that mentally?
I mean, I'm struggling. I'm turning on PlayStation, playing PlayStation, turning it off, watching a movie. Like it's hard to because I can't go nowhere. You know what I mean? But normally, because I'm normally always on the go, I'm either working or refereeing and doing something. It is definitely hard to get adjusted to just staying in the house. You know what I mean? Hopefully, we ain't under this for too much longer. Hopefully, I get this ban off. But it's definitely hard to go from always being out doing something to having to be here.
Yeah, and then changing gears, obviously, you've got to almost jump right back into training if indeed you are going to be selected to do something next month or later this month, whenever. But you got to jump right back into training. So how do you switch that back on so quickly?
Um, because of these games that came up, and I'm already in the mindset of the countdown, getting to games, doing what you got to do at games. So I'm already in the mindset like, yeah, it's international games coming up, it's international tournaments coming up. So I'm already there. It's now just to go get back into training and doing what I'm gonna do to get those marks to somehow get to the next level.
Mm. I know, Mr. Williams, and you talk to with a lot of the instructors around the Caribbean and other referees in the Caribbean, but they've got the same problem we have, where there's no domestic football going on. So how are the overseas, the CONCACAF instructors helping you guys as well as other Caribbean countries in ensuring that the referees that are continuing to train are doing the right things to stay ready?
Oh, CONCACAF, Kalisha, and Alan Brown Morgan, they have a training program that they send out to all the officials every month. A lot of this boils down to the referees having a lot of on the end training. It's unfortunate, but that's where we are now. So they just have to keep doing it. And it's a program basically tells you what to do each day, how to eat, what, not to eat, the like stuff to do in the gym, outside the gym. So yeah, it's a very detailed program that they send out to the officials. Tashawn gets it every month. So really, it's on the official. Right now, it's a matter of how bad do you want it. And knowing that they have a lot of people on the list and only the cream of the crop gets to go and do certain games, is up to the individual. That's just a reality, because you had a lot of officials that didn't even get chosen to do World Cup qualifiers this first go round. So for me, I was very happy and excited that Tashawn was one of those that did get appointed, because I contacted others in the region and it was almost like, no, I'm him, I didn't get appointed. So I was like, oh. So for me, getting Tashawn appointed was a plus.
How much does it help Bermuda that we have this relationship, or you've built this relationship with these instructors who come to Bermuda and give their all to these guys to actually help push them?
Well, I think it goes hand in hand. They The more effort, I guess, that they put in to our local officials, and the more of them that get on the list, it just adds to their portfolio, I guess you want to call it. Because previously Bermuda was like there was nothing happening. They didn't even send invitations about a rep course, about the instructors getting anywhere, or assessors course. But now, because of the relationship built over the years, and me sending my reports, and they can actually see what's going on, and also the social media outlet of Facebook, they can see, okay, these guys are working hard and they've noted the progress. So relationship, it just helped me greatly, because now instead of saying, I send a report and say, I would like to nominate Amari Majors or Mateo Donowa or Clinton Hayward or Natasha Trott for under 15s, or Adriel or Stephen, they know exactly who I'm referring to. Because that was issued previously when nobody knew who was a Tashawn Simon or Antoine Augustus or Anthony Francis, because there was no communication between the association and CONCACAF. Whereas now, once you mention the name, they're like, oh yeah, we know who that is. And they've seen proof of how hard they're training.
Mm-hmm. So Tashawn, overall, talking with these officials and all, obviously you guys go your separate ways, but how often do you stay in touch with the people that you've officiated with just to see how their progress is and let them know what your progress is?
Yeah, I speak to some of those guys sometimes. It's normally around when you get appointments and stuff like that. You're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna see you soon, stuff like that. Like you have a list of referees that get appointed for, like, say, a tournament or whatever. It comes out either in the portal or it comes out via email, and oh, look who's going, and oh yeah, you're going, da 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 da, and you speak to them. But obviously, I'm busy all the time, so I don't really get to speak to that much people. But when it comes around to appointments and you look to see list of who's going, you start speaking to them like, oh, you're doing this, you're doing that. I mean, just the other day before I went, I was speaking to one of my friends who was at the Olympics qualifiers, asking her about the uniform and how he's doing and stuff like that. So is you normally just speak to each other about football and what they're doing, or how's the country right now for COVID and stuff like that. But it's normally around the appointments when I start speaking to people.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that tournament, the Olympic qualifier, because a lot of different rules are in place for that, where even the officials are stringent on what they can wear and what they can do at those things. What were some of the things he was telling you that kind of he had to be mindful of doing that tournament?
So obviously the Olympics comes under FIFA, it doesn't come under CONCACAF. So everything FIFA is always Adidas unless they change sponsorship. So when it comes down to your shoes have to be Adidas. You know what I mean? If you don't have Adidas shoes, you gotta go to get some or something like that. You know what I mean? But it's Adidas everything. You can't wear anything Nike, obviously, because they're rivals. But it's all Adidas. So we have one side of jerseys for CONCACAF, which are Sevi, and then you have the jerseys for FIFA, which are Adidas. So it's two totally separate things.
Mm. And very stringent in that, because you could actually be dismissed, even as an official, for wearing the wrong things, such as players getting fined and all. Well, we could sit here all night and keep going around and around and around. But we look forward to your next appointment. We will keep an eye out. I'll have my binoculars out in search of. Mr. Williams knows that I constantly am on the look for what's going on, and then I would contact him to say, hey, I see this, I see that. And it was so funny when I saw your name in the lineup, as I'm part of the CONCACAF region for the press. And they send the people that we send all the reports to. Obviously, I didn't have to do it because the game wasn't in Bermuda, but they send the team sheets and the officials. So I hit up Mr. Williams and said, "Oh, I found him. I found him." So obviously he informed that there's restrictions and so forth, and you have to respect that. And I said, well, I'll wait until you get back and see how you're making out, and then obviously we get an opportunity to talk, and people get to hear you talk about your experience, and hopefully you have enlightened somebody else right behind you to jump on that bandwagon and make that extra commitment. I know Mr. Williams is always talking about the training. It's that extra commitment that you guys put in, and we look forward to your next commitment, as well as someone else joining you on that list. Mr. Williams, it'd be good to see 4 or 5 people you handing out badges to end of the year.
That's the plan, Mr. Biz, and that's the plan. All I can say is that is the plan.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys very much for your time, and we look forward to another week of Referee Corner. We have some special guests lined up for next week, and we'll be announcing that shortly, who they will be. But from me to you guys, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you very much, Mr. Beza, for his continued support. Thank you.
All right.